Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to part two of my tutorial for the migrations assignment. And in part two, we're going to be doing a much more substantial migration. In part one, we did data migration for semester data. In part two, we're actually going to change the schema of the database, which means we're going to have to change the model code, and we're going to have to create a migration that allows us to convert the data. Okay, and because it's a migration, it needs to be able to convert it forward and backward. That's just the nature of this migration beast. So first of all, let's talk about the nature of the change in the design of the database. So what I have up here right now is the design that we've been working with. It's the Easy University Logical Database design. And I guess our implementation is just a little bit different. We allowed Django to put the name of the app in front of the name of all the tables. So instead of semester, we have course info semester. Instead of section, we have course info section. But apart from that, this is pretty accurate. Okay, and so the one thing that we did in I think too simple of a way is the design that we have for the semester table. And it has a semester ID and a semester name. And the semester name is a pretty funky field. It's just a text field. It's a varchar 45. And so theoretically, the user can type anything that they want into it, and it's going to be valid. And our convention is that we type in a year, a space, a dash, a space, and the name of the semester. The calendar period, spring, summer, fall, which is all that we have at Easy University. And the problem with that design, the problems with that design are many, but it's the classic unnormalized design. Okay, a couple of things that it does that we don't like is that one, the names of the calendar periods are repeated. So we've got duplicate data. So we've got fall for 2017. We've got fall for 2018. If we decided that we wanted to call that semester autumn, we would have to go back and change many rows in the database. Okay, so it's duplicate data. Two, we're not controlling values for that calendar period either. I might spell it fall one time. I might misspell it and say full the next time. And so if I go searching for it, it's going to be a mess. So what we need is a more normalized design. So here we have version 2. Okay, and in version 2, we still have a semester table, but instead of just having a semester name, it has two columns. It has the year column, which is it's just an int, and it has a calendar period ID, which is a foreign key into the calendar period table. And the calendar period table is your classic lookup table. Okay. And it has, as a primary key, it's got calendar period ID, which is an int. and it has calendar period name. And we're expecting it to have 3 rows. We're expecting it to have a row for spring, a row for summer, and a row for fall. And we really would like things to show up in that order. And so when we put them in the table, instead of automatically assigning the calendar period ID as with an auto increment field, so that they're 1, 2, 3, we're going to give values to them such that if you sort them in an order of calendar period, instead of coming out fall, spring, summer, they're going to come out spring, summer, fall. And that's how they actually happen in the calendar. So, for instance, we could give spring an ID of, say, 10, and we could give summer an ID of 20, and we can give fall an ID of 30. And even if we come up with a lot of other calendar periods that we'd like to be able to represent, those would probably be pretty safe. So, is this great relational database design? No, it's okay relational database design. We have a kind of an intelligent key here, which captures both the identity of the calendar period and the order that we'd like it to have. We could probably have broken those into 2 columns, but I don't want to work that hard. So we're going to go from a database design that was horribly denormalized to one that's a lot more normalized, but certainly not perfect. Okay, so here's what we have to do. We have to go into our Django code, and we need to change. We need a new model class for calendar period. Okay. We need to change the model class for semester. Okay, and then we need to do some odds and ends. Like we need to, for instance, go to the admin application and register the calendar period as a model class that we would like to be able to edit in the admin app. Okay, because even though we're going to originally populate the data with our migration, we might want to be able to change. We might want to be able to change the values in that table sometime. We're not going to go and build all the CRUD functionality for a calendar period. It's not really a user-oriented table, and I think that would be a distraction to us. So we're going to populate it initially in our migration, and to the extent that we need to correct it or we need to add to it, we'll just rely on the admin app. Okay, so it'll be sort of a more built-in feature than the rest of the tables, which are more user-oriented. Now, do we have to do a custom migration? No. Okay. If we wanted to get rid of the data in our database and populate it all over again, well, we could go and we could get rid of the data in our database. We could change all the model code and related code, and we could just do a migration and get a completely new schema, and then we would populate it. Okay, well, there are people who do that because they don't want to do the migration. Okay, the alternative is if you want to keep your data, you are going to have to do a conversion, and migrations are a very controlled and sophisticated way to do a conversion. So you're likely to get to a point where you have that use case, and that's why we're practicing it right now. Okay. Are there quite a few people who would not be so sophisticated? Sure. They don't want to learn how to do the migration, so they'll do it what they think is the easy way, and what a lot of us have come to think of as the hard way. So here's the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go and change the model code and change register the model class, okay, so that we have everything that we need. Okay, so let's get started with that. All right. So let me shrink this little baby. I'm having a hard time with my cursor here for some reason. Okay. And let's put that back up there. That's part one, which just uploaded to YouTube. Okay, so here we are. So model. Let's look at the model code. Okay. Models.py is right here. And for right now, let's give ourselves a little more room. Okay, so if you look at what we have in models, here, let me expand the import. Here's semester, okay? So when we start out, we've got 2 columns on semester, the semester ID and the semester name, okay? We've got some methods that are sort of interesting. We have a string method, which is based on returning a name for the semester right out of the semester name. Well, that's going to have to change probably. And we have an ordering that's on the basis of the semester name. Well, we're not going to have a semester name field anymore, so that's going to take some work as well. Okay. Now, before we change the semester, let's go and add the new table. Okay? So let's take a look at that. So I have a already baked version of our new model class, and I'm just going to add it here. Okay. And let's take a look at it. See, we need two things, 2 blank lines between those and 2 blank lines ahead of it. All right, that's our standard formatting for the file with white space. Okay, so the class is called calendar period. It uses camel case capitalization. And it's got 2 columns, calendar period ID. And instead of using an auto field like we did for all the rest of the ones, if we use an auto field, well, it's going to auto increment it. Well, no, we want to control the values of that key. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by having it be an integer field. So we say it's an integer field, just like we did on the rest of the tables. We say primary key equal true. And then the calendar period name is really just going to be the name of the season, fall, summer, spring. So we use models.char field, and we give it a max length of 45 because we've been making all these things 45. Could we have made it smaller? Yeah, we could have. And we say it needs to be unique because we don't want to have two of these things with the same value. We have a string method that returns just the calendar period name. Fall, spring, summer. Okay, that's what we're going to get back. And the ordering is going to be in terms of the calendar period ID. Okay, so we're really again, we're using this ID to perform two functions. We could have had two columns for this. We could have had a calendar period ID that keeps track of the identity, and we could have had a calendar period sequence which kept track of the order, and that probably would have been more elegant design, but this is going to do, and I just kind of want to show this kind of more expedient design. Okay, so that's all that we have there. Okay, so we've added that. Now, what other changes do we need in order to make, in order to get this calendar period properly set up? Well, one of the things I mentioned before is that we need to tell the admin app that it's okay to use the admin app to add, change, and delete calendar period rows. So let's just go to admin.py, and we have all these things that we've registered, and of course all those were imported. And then let's just add one. Let's just say, let's put it in the order in which it occurs. So it occurs first now. So we'll put it up top. We'll say admin site, register, and then the name of the semester. I'm sorry, the name of the class, which is calendar period. So calendar, sorry. Thought I was up here, but I'm not. Calendar period. Okay, and of course we're going to need to do an import on that. And let's do that. That's an import, so that's fine. So at this point, we have all the additional code, and so we should be able to go ahead and add this new table, and we should be able to do a migration for the new table. And we should be able to generate most of the migration automatically, but we're just going to add the code that it's going to populate the table. So let's go do that. So let's see, the last thing that we ran was a show migrations. We'll run it again just to be current. So we've got a 1, a 2, and a 3 on course info. Okay, and let's do another, let's get it to generate a migration for this change that we made in the model. Okay, so let's do a make migrations course info. Okay, and it should put the code in for the new table. And so what do we have? What does it say it did? Well, it called it 004 calendar period.py. That's a great name for it. So it gave it a great name. And it says create model calendar period. That's great. Let's just go look at that. Okay. I'm going up here, calendar period pi. All right. And let's look at a little bit more code. So here are the operations that we have. So it's really important to really theoretically understand what's going on in the migration. Okay. It is all the code that goes in here is telling the RDBMS product, in this case is SQLite 3, it's going to be sending that information to change the schema. Okay? It doesn't change any of the code in our Django app. Okay? Even though a lot of the code that we see here looks pretty similar to the code we just put into the model class. We're just using kind of a parallel syntax for the migration engine. And the migration engine is what communicates with the relational database. Okay? And so this was generated for us automatically, which was quite nice. Okay, so that looks good. Now, after we do that, what else do we want to do? Well, let's add some data. Okay. Well, we have one where we added some data. We had this one where we added this semester data. Okay. Do you remember that one? So what did that look like? Well, we had semesters, and we had an add semester and a remove semester. And then in the migrations, we had this migrations run Python. So I'm going to steal some parts from this. So first of all, let's take this operation. Okay. And let's copy it over and add it here. So that's the first one. And let's add another one. Okay. So are we going to want to add semester data? No. Let's call it add calendar period data. Okay. And remove calendar period data. This is what's going to allow it to go back and forth. Remove calendar period data. Okay. All right. Well, the problem is here that we don't have all that stuff up top. Well, let's just take the stuff that we had for the semesters, okay, and let's do a little work on them. Okay. So let's just take that code and use it as kind of a template for this. Okay. Okay. So it's all wrong, but we'll do it. So first of all, we want calendar periods. Well, how many of them we're going to have? Well, just 3, right? So we're not going to need any more than 3 entries. Okay. And that we're going to have a variable called that we're going to consider a constant, and let's call it calendar periods. So calendar underscore periods. Okay. And so what are we going to have? Well, we're going to have 2 we're going to have 2 fields to populate on each one. And let's see what they look like. The first one is going to be called calendar period ID, right? I don't know what happened to the rest of my calendar. I was typing somewhere, whether it just got lost or not. Oh, there it is at the end. So calendar period ID is the name of it. And what's the value? The value in this case for the first one is going to be, instead of 1, we use 10. Okay? So because it's not a string, I believe we can just put the value 10 there. Okay? And then we have a calendar period name. And let's do a little cutting and pasting here. So calendar period name. Okay. And that is going to be spring. How about that? Got it right there. So that's the first one. Okay. And let's just copy that one twice. Okay. So 2 more of these. So 20, that'll be the second one, and that'll be summer. And 30, and that'll be fall. Okay, so that's the order that they're going to come out because it's going to be in that order. Okay, so let's turn this add semester data into add calendar period data. So let's do that. Calendar period data. Okay, looks good. So this one's going to be called calendar period. And it's going to be course info calendar period. Very good. So we can say for calendar period in, and now we want that constant name, calendar periods. Okay, so we're going to say calendar period object equals calendar period objects create, and we're going to say calendar period ID equals calendar period and then we're going to use I'm sorry. I'm going to take a pause here before I do it wrong. Be right back. Got it. Okay. So here we're going to want this to say calendar period ID. And this is going to be calendar period ID. I'm sorry, the first one is going to be calendar period. Sorry about that. That should resolve. Okay, so what is a calendar period? Well, calendar period is one entry in the list calendar periods. So it's one of these guys. And what's in calendar period? Well, if we give it the key calendar period ID, we're going to get back 10. So that's exactly what we want. Okay? And then let's do it again. We're going to say calendar period name equals, and then calendar period, because that's what we're calling the member. And then we're going to send it the key calendar period name. Okay, and that should work just fine. So we should be creating just what we want there. And this always goes a little crazy on me here. I think it's having to do with the fact that we have an error. So let's resolve the errors, and hopefully it'll stop going crazy. Okay, so we're going to do this other one here. Is going to be pretty much the same design. So remove calendar period data. Okay, remove calendar period data. And again, we're going to say calendar period equals apps get model calendar period. Okay. And then we're going to say for calendar period in, oh, we're just going to say this. For calendar period and calendar periods. It's going to go right there. Okay. And we're going to say instead of objects get, instead of objects create, we're going to say objects get. So let's just copy this line from up here. We're not going to say create, we are going to say get. Okay. And then we're going to say, we're going to take, we're just going to have to use the primary key. That's it. We don't have to match on both of the fields because the primary key is going to be unique, right? Okay, so that's good. And then we can just say calendar period object delete. Object delete. And that should take care of that. And then let's come down here and do that. Okay, I think that's all the code I need, but why don't we walk through it? So what's happening? Well, this is a two-step migration. One is that we're doing a schema migration, okay? And then we're following up with the data migration, okay? In which we're going to add, we're just going to populate the table, which we do by calling add calendar period data, okay? If we're backing it out, it's going to run remove calendar period data. The data that we're either adding or removing is being controlled by this list of dictionaries, okay? And in the add calendar period data, we iterate over the list of dictionaries, and we create one for each of the members of the list. And then in remove calendar period data, we iterate over the list again, and we do a delete. We do a get and then a delete for each of the members of the list. So this should be all that we need, provided we haven't made any mistakes. So let's cross our fingers, and let's go down and try to give this a run. Okay. So let's show the migrations first. Okay, so we are down in course info. We had 1, 2, 3, and we have 4, but it's not applied. So let's try applying 4. Okay, and if we did everything right, which is usually pretty unlikely when we have all that typing, if we did everything right, it's going to run. If not, we're going to have to go fix something. So we say migrate, course info, and what's the level we want to get to? Well, 0004. 0004. Let's give it a run. How about that? It applied it, and it says it's run okay. So let's go take a look at that. What's that going to look like in the application? Can we look at it in the application? Well, we should be able to look at it in the application because we don't have custom pages for it, but we ought to be able to use the admin app. So let's do run server. Let's go up. Okay. And let's go to admin. And you'll remember we should have a test user. And it should be SOS secret. And we have calendar periods. That looks good, so let's give that a look. And here we go. And it's spring, summer, fall, just the order that we wanted it to show up in. Isn't that pretty special? All right, that sounds good. So let's get out of that. And let's just test the reverse. Okay. So getting out of that development server, and let's start up manage.py again and show migrations, and we're applied all the way through 4. And let's just tell it migrate course info 0003, and it says it's on applying 0004. Okay, and let's just run server. Let's go back and take a look at that. And let's go back and take a look at admin. And see if those rows are gone. And oh, it says there's no such table, which is just what we should get, because not only do we not have the data, we don't have the table anymore either. Very interesting. Because we ran the whole thing back. Okay, so it took the data out of the schema for the relational database. Okay, so let's fix that. Okay, let's fix that and convince ourselves that we've got what we want here. Okay, so we want to start this up again, manage pi, and show migrations. Okay, number 4 is unapplied, so migrate course info 0004. Okay, now that worked. And now run the server. And not only has it added the data, but before that, it changed the schema on our SQLite 3 database such that it has a calendar period table now. And of course, it's populated. Pretty neat, huh? So, this is pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So let's just take stock of what we've done so far. Um, we added some semester data in the old format. We added the calendar period, um, and we did a migration. Okay, and now we're going to have to change the rest of the model and do another migration. And I'm going to do a similar thing. Okay, I'm going to go and add. I'm going to change the model class for um, semester, and then I'm going to ask it to generate a migration, and then I'm going to decorate it some. Now, am I going to add data as I decorate it? No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to add data. But what I am going to do is I'm going to run the conversion. Okay, so some conversion has to be done here. All right, so let's get it all done. I am going to just take a pause before we begin to do that. Back soon. Okay. So one of the things that I like to do about right now is I like to commit the changes that I have so far. Okay, so I'm just going to go and get all these changes here. So what do I have here? Okay, got a bunch of changes, and so I'm going to say commit changes to easy university tutorial that include migration catch-up. That was the first one we did. And then semester data migration and calendar period migration. Okay? I got all this done. All right. So now that's a nice place to back up to if all hell breaks loose. All right, and then let's just get out of this. So where are we? Well, let's go back to models. Okay, so we've got a calendar period that's been added, but we have the old version of semester here. And what I've got to bring over is a new version of semester. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to copy over from my already baked one. And I went to the trouble when I previously baked this one of throwing some comments in to make it easier to see where the differences are going to be. Okay, so you'll notice that I've got lines that I deleted or I overrode, I kind of commented out, and I put some comments on the new code. So let's just look at what we've got here. The semester ID is the same. Okay, haven't changed that. The semester name is going to go away. Okay, now what we're going to find out when we get to our migration is just when the semester name goes away is what we're going to want to control in our migration. Okay, we don't want it to go away until we're done with it. Okay, so we've got that. We've added a field year, okay? And then we need to implement the relationship to a calendar period, so we have a foreign key field. It just says a calendar period, and it's a foreign key that points at calendar period. And the related name from the other side is semesters. So a particular calendar period is going to be the calendar period for, say, fall will be the calendar period for fall 2017, fall 2018, fall 2019. I'm not sure we're going to use the relationship in that direction that many times, but we have there. So this is an added field. Okay, so drop semester name, add year, add calendar period foreign key field. Okay, so what's going to change in addition to that? Well, because the old version of the string function returned the semester name, well, we don't have a semester name per se anymore. Okay, but could we build one out of the data that we do have? Yeah, we can. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build one that has a character string, a space, a dash, a space, and a character string, just the formatting that we had before. And the first character string is going to be the year, okay, because now we're carrying the year explicitly. And the other is going to be, we're going to reach over through the calendar period field to get the calendar period name off of the calendar period table. And we're going to use that for the second string. So that should give us exactly what we had before. Okay, so that's the new version of the code for the string method. All of these get URL methods are just the same. They should work just the same. They're fine. We're going to want to change the ordering. Okay, so the old code, this is the line that I've dropped, said it was ordered by semester name. Okay, well, there is no semester name field anymore. So we're going to replace that with an ordering that includes year, and then we're going to get the calendar period ID off the calendar period so we're going to use the foreign key field, and then we're going to jump over and pick up the calendar period ID. And you'll remember that that's both the ID and the sequence. So that should put it in year and then the proper sequence of the calendar periods. So that's my revised version. And then the other thing that we need to do is that we need to have a proper, we need to control the uniqueness of these two together. Okay, so we need to say that we need a constraint that says the combination of year and calendar period is unique. Okay, because we don't want to be able to add two fall 2017s. That's not going to make sense, and that's what we do with this unique together. Okay, so this is the code. This is kind of annotated. I wouldn't recommend that you do the same, but I'm leaving it here to make it kind of easier for you to find the changes as you go to apply them. Okay, and that should take care of it right there. Okay. All right. So let us take a look at what's going to be generated automatically for us in terms of a migration. Okay, because we're going to take that and then we're going to further customize it. So let's pull up Manage Pi, and let's show the migrations. Show migrations. Okay, and so we've got 4 of them for course info. They're all applied. So let's just say make migrations course info, and let's see what it does for us. Says, okay, we're trying to add a non-nullable field calendar period to semester without a default. We can do that. The database needs something to populate existing rows. Please select effects. Provide a one-off default now. Will be set on all the existing rows with a null value for this column, or to quit and let me add a default in models.py. Well, I just want to point out that this is the same dilemma that Pinkham got into in his chapter 10. So this is, I think, a really frustrating part of the migration infrastructure here, because here's what we're left to do. We're left to do the same thing that Pinkham did, which is we're left to build this migration file by ourselves. Okay, so it would have been nice if it generated a lot of the lines for us, which would be nice, but as you can see, not possible. Okay, so we're going to have to go and do this thing by hand. Okay, so let me take a pause here and pull a thing together or two, and I'll show you how that's done. So the first thing we want to do when we do these on a manual basis is we're going to have to get the shell of a migration put together for us. So let's do this. Make migrations. Okay. Use the empty option, -- empty. Use the name option, -- name. Okay. And let's call this semester changes. Just call it semester changes. I think that's pretty good right there. And of course, it's in course info. All right. And there it is. So it's now it popped up here, 005, semester changes. We have the dependencies, and we have the operations. We don't have any operations at all now. Okay, so some of the operations that we're going to do are pretty straightforward. We're going to be adding fields. We're going to be adding conditions to fields. We're going to be eventually dropping a field. The problem that we saw in the beginning here is what really got us into the fix that we're in is when you tell the relational database to add a field, it has to know what value to put in all the rows that are already in the database when it adds that column. And of course, we don't really want there to be a default. You can do that by doing a default. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to temporarily have a default, which is going to be the empty string. And then later on, we're going to come back and we're going to change the values while we're doing our conversion, right? And then after that, we're going to make another change in the schema that says, oh, by the way, this really can't have a default. Okay, so we're going to allow defaults for our two fields. We've got two fields that are new. We've got this calendar period field that's new, and we've got the year field that's new. Okay, and then eventually we're going to have to drop the semester name field. So we got a lot of work here, and it's pretty complicated. And I think it'd be pretty good if we did the following thing. Maybe what I want to do is put that into part 3. Okay, so far what we do, we've done the easy stuff, and we've created the shell of this semester changes. Okay, pretty good. And I'm going to end this one, our part 2 of the tutorial. And then I'm going to put this whole migration part into part 3, and we'll do that as a third unit. Okay, so I'm going to say bye for now, and I'll see you again in part 3. Bye for now.